The second wave of NFL free agency is often where patience, leverage, and timing begin to shape the market. And right now, no player embodies that dynamic more than Trey Hendrickson. While many of the league's biggest names have already found new homes, one of the most productive pass rushers of the past several seasons remains unsigned. And the longer the situation develops, the clearer it becomes that this is not simply a matter of teams showing interest. This is a negotiation battle. Hendrickson enters this offseason as arguably the most impactful defensive player still available on the market. Over the past several years, he has quietly built one of the most impressive pass rushing resumes in the NFL. Since the start of the 2020 season, his 74.5 sacks place him among the league's elite, trailing only two of the most dominant defensive players of the era, Myles Garrett and TJ Watt. That level of production usually guarantees immediate attention when free agency begins. Yet, 2 days into the negotiating window, Hendrickson remains without a deal. According to reports from league insiders, the reason isn't a lack of interest. Multiple teams have already been in contact with the veteran edge rusher. The issue appears to revolve around one critical factor: price. Hendrickson believes his performance over the past several seasons justifies a contract that places him among the highest paid pass rushers in the league. With the edge rusher market continuing to explode, elite defensive ends are now commanding salaries well above $30 million per year. From Hendrickson's perspective, the numbers support his case. Sack totals remain one of the most valued statistics when evaluating defensive linemen, and Hendrickson's production stacks up favorably with almost anyone in the league. His relentless motor, refined pass rushing technique, and ability to consistently pressure quarterbacks have made him a nightmare for offensive lines. However, NFL front offices rarely evaluate contracts based on production alone. Age, durability, and long-term risk always factor into negotiations. And in Hendrickson's case, those variables may be influencing the pace of the market. At 31 years old, Hendrickson is entering a stage of his career where teams become more cautious about handing out massive multi-year deals. While many pass rushers remain productive well into their 30s, committing nine-figure contracts to players at that age carries inherent risk. Recent injury concerns have only added another layer of hesitation. Last season, Hendrickson appeared in just 7 games due to a core muscle injury. While injuries are an unavoidable part of football, teams tend to weigh recent availability heavily when deciding how much guaranteed money they are willing to commit. That combination, elite production, but growing age and injury questions, has created a complicated negotiating landscape. According to ESPN insider Adam Schefter, Hendrickson has spoken with several teams, but has not yet received an offer that matches his expectations. During a recent appearance discussing the situation, Schefter explained that the pass rusher is firmly committed to securing the contract he believes he deserves. In many ways, Hendrickson's stance reflects a broader trend among top defensive players. As the salary cap continues to rise and the financial value of elite edge rushers grows, players are increasingly determined to maximize their earning potential during the most valuable years of their careers. For someone like Hendrickson, who has consistently produced double-digit sack numbers, accepting a discount deal would mean leaving millions of dollars on the table. So, for now, he waits. Meanwhile, the list of potential landing spots has gradually begun to narrow. According to prediction markets and betting projections, 2 teams have emerged as the most likely destinations: the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Both organizations currently sit at the top of the odds to land Hendrickson, with each team given roughly a 30% chance of securing his signature. Neither scenario would be particularly surprising. Dallas has long prioritized building its defense around a dominant pass rush. In recent seasons, the Cowboys have relied heavily on their ability to pressure opposing quarterbacks, using aggressive defensive schemes designed to disrupt offenses before plays can fully develop. Adding Hendrickson to that environment would give Dallas another proven edge threat capable of consistently collapsing the pocket. Pairing him with the Cowboys' existing defensive talent could transform an already dangerous unit into one of the most feared pass rushing groups in the league. For Tampa Bay, the appeal would be slightly different, but equally compelling. The Buccaneers have built their defensive identity around physicality and pressure. Throughout their most successful seasons, Tampa Bay's defense has thrived when it could generate consistent pass rush without relying heavily on blitz packages. Hendrickson's ability to win one-on-one matchups on the edge would fit naturally into that philosophy. Still, being the favorites in a betting market doesn't necessarily mean a deal is imminent. As Schefter indicated, the core issue remains financial. Neither Dallas nor Tampa Bay, at least so far, appears to have offered the type of contract Hendrickson is seeking. And until that gap narrows, negotiations may continue to stall. It's also possible that Hendrickson is waiting for the market to shift. Sometimes early free agency creates a ripple effect. Once a few major contracts are finalized, the financial benchmarks for other players become clearer. Hendrickson may be watching closely to see how similar edge rushers are compensated before making his final decision. The extension recently given to pass rusher Jalen Phillips may be one such benchmark. Deals like that often influence how both players and teams approach negotiations. If Hendrickson believes his production surpasses or matches those players, he will likely use those contracts as leverage when discussing his own value. At the same time, teams may argue that his age and injury history should bring the price down. That push and pull is what makes free agency negotiations so fascinating. From the outside, it may seem unusual that a player with Hendrickson's resume hasn't already been signed. But situations like this happen frequently when a player's expectations and the league's evaluation of his value don't align perfectly. Eventually, one of two things will happen. Either a team will decide that Hendrickson's pass rushing ability is worth meeting his asking price, or the player himself will adjust his expectations slightly in order to secure the right situation. For now, the standoff continues. What remains undeniable, however, is Hendrickson's impact on the field. Few players have been as consistently disruptive over the past several seasons. When healthy, he remains one of the most dangerous edge rushers in football. The kind of player who can change the outcome of a game with a single strip sack or late-game pressure. That type of talent rarely stays on the market for long. Whether it ends up being Dallas, Tampa Bay, or an entirely different team that steps forward with the right offer, Trey Hendrickson's next contract will likely be one of the most closely watched moves of this entire free agency period. And until that moment arrives, the sweepstakes for one of the NFL's most productive pass rushers remains very much alive.